Hi, how you doing?
Great. Cinematographer.
First of all, I would like to say that your new album is really, really good. Can I say that?
Yes, you should repeat that.
Marilyn Manson's new album is really, really good. So,
which is also the word I think in America is great.
Great?
Really, really good means great.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
You know,
And
we'll
happy
get that to
birthday,
him.
by the way.
Hey, thank you. I hate recording at regular studios because when you go there, you have to see the person at the front desk, and then you have to, there's an engineer, and then they put you like in a small glass box, and you sing with all of your words around you.
A glass box?
Well, a vocal,
when you
chamber.
record vocals and stuff, yeah.
But this was different. It was me with the microphone, just like this, and Tyler Bates was sitting right there with the guitar. So a lot of times on the record you can hear his guitar in my microphone, because if we would start the song, on the way to his house I would say, hey, I just watched Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. Do you remember that scene where Laura Palmer is getting, someone's eating her pussy, and the strobe lights, and there's a band in the background with cowboy hats, and then down, down. That was on my mind, and this is about 5 minutes before I get to his house. So I show up there, and he just has a beat somewhere to that, and he starts to say to me, and I said, don't even say anything, just give me a mic, and just grab your guitar and turn it on. And he started playing, and then the first song we did was Birds of Hell Are Waiting. And that suddenly became the point where I knew that day that this was not just a musical conversation. Because I had done some things. I did a song with Alice Cooper and Bob Ezrin and Johnny Depp. But it was something I didn't write, so it was something I sort of fell into. I did a song with Shooter Jennings for Sons of Anarchy that we didn't end up using. And so I started to learn something I'd never done before, which was jamming, I guess, for lack of a better word, which I dislike. The idea of it. No, I dislike the idea of it because I'd never done it before, because I never felt comfortable enough to understand what it's like to. I'd been so used to my programming that I was used to being in this glass coffin where you're singing and someone pushes a button there, like, okay, that was good. And that's all you hear in your headphones. So that was not, I mean, that's what I was used to, but this was someone sitting with a guitar right here, got headphones on, he's got headphones on, but we're playing together, and if there's a mistake, we don't fix it, we stop.
Yeah. We
start from the beginning again, together. So it was the closest thing to performing live on making this record, and it, to me, was, it felt the most perfect spot for me. I don't think I've ever sang in the keys that are on this record as much, which Tyler, I overheard him speaking about making the record to someone else, and I was just eavesdropping, no offense. But he said that because he scores movies, he works around dialogue.
Yeah.
And so he said that he catered the music to work around my voice. But he didn't know that in my mind, I was catering my voice to work around the music. So we didn't speak about this. We just did it. Instead of saying, we're going to make a song like this, I would just say, plug in your guitar, give me a microphone, let's go, let's just do it. And so a lot of the takes were first takes.
Yeah.
Of the guitar also. And then we would embellish on it. But I mean, but the energy and the essence and the soul of the song was there. And it happened, it was not like any other experience I've had making a record. I would sing, and when I wasn't singing, the guitar would tell the story. And I tell the story, and the guitar would tell the story. And it probably will end up sounding like a homosexual pornographic film when you talk about it. But we were this close, and we're just sitting, like staring at each other and playing a song. I've never done that before, and it was. I got up every day and was excited to go to the studio. In the past, they'd have to drag me to the studio at 3 in the morning when it closed at 4.
Even in your early past?
Yeah, the past 3 records. They had to like force me to go to the studio because I was just not. It it wasn't how I wanted things to be, and I didn't know how to fix it. It's more about being in control of your life. You have to own up to your own mistakes, own up to your own failures, own up to you have to man up. You have to, if you want to be the man, you've got to be the man. So there's a masculinity to the record that maybe has not existed in the past. Not a machismo, but more of a, is that how you say it? Machismo? How do you say
Machismo.
it? Machismo.
Yeah.
There you go. So you're holding the camera like it's your dick.
Yeah, I'm holding the camera because it's...
No, it's like it's your dick. Your dick.
Yeah, it's an extension of my dick.
Yeah, this is not a very big extension. No, but there is a machismo to this record. Was, you know, it was before I got the role acting on Sons of Anarchy, but it might have been maybe the process of dealing with losing my mother. I don't know if that was it. You know, it was a long process, so it was more of a release. But I was more worried about my father because I think everyone expected me to fall to pieces when that happened. And I was very much determined to not be what everyone expected me, because when they think I'm gonna zig, I'm gonna zag. And it became something I prided myself in. It's almost like the old adage about the devil. His greatest asset is that people don't think he exists. And for me, so I would get up and I'd go fight training, because I figured if I'm gonna be on Sons of Anarchy, I don't want to ever end up in prison and be the guys on the receiving end. I want to at least be able to not get, I at least put up a fight, probably. And plus, you know, and I wanted to change. I literally used to go to bed at 6 a.m. and I had to be at work at 6 a.m. So I had to turn my schedule around. Well, I didn't have to in 24 hours, but I did. And it confused everyone around me. They're like, oh, he's not going to show up. He's going to be fucking wasted. He's going to be this and that. And I just learned, look, I'm going to go do my job. I'm going to do it seriously. I might get stoned when I'm singing. I might fucking drink, whatever I want to do. But I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do it fucking great. I'm going to look great when I'm doing it. And fuck you if you stand in my way, because I got a switchblade and all stuff. You don't ever want to start a conversation with me that ends with me pulling out a switchblade. That's a bad conversation.
Yeah, but I mean, you can hear all of this in this new record. I mean, the record speaks for itself.
Thank you.
And
that's good. That's what I want.
The only thing, I mean, I've read a few reviews that, you know, they all agree that the record is great. A few of them say, Manson is going back to his Antichrist superstar, mechanical animal spirit. But I actually don't agree with that. I think you're on a completely different planet right now.
I agree with you too, planet. Go fuck yourself in the galaxy of. Go fuck yourself. No, well, thank you. I appreciate that, because I mean, it does have sort of the. I understand what you're saying, because in my mind, I've always held up Hollywood as one of my proudest moments in music. But the part about it that's I'm so proud of is because of the time I did it. It was because it was a fuck you to everyone who put Columbine on top of me. So what I do in response, make a record about guns and fucking the violence, and just point out that if you want violence and you want any horror film, read the Bible. It's got everything. Devils, demons, zombies, crucifixions. Do I need to continue? And then it's also thick enough that you can hit someone in the head with it. So that's what I learned from the Bible. But I'm very knowledgeable about the Bible, and I'm very knowledgeable about Catholicism, and it's strange that this year, you know, is MMXV in Roman numerals.
MMXV, yeah.
And I have 15 tattoos. I mean, my birthday is 1/5 and 15 this year. So it is very appropriate that this is the year that this was supposed to be. When you call yourself the Pale Emperor, which was inspired by Antonin Artaud's surrealist biography of Heliogabalus, the first Roman emperor who was in his teens to deny the existence of God. And this is the year when the Pope says that evolution exists. It's not a coincidence. Everything is really spiraling into a circle that really makes sense to me now. And I don't take anything for granted. Everything is fated. Like, that's why I wrote Mephistopheles of Los Angeles, fated, faithful, or fatal. That's really the 3 F's. That's a trifecta right there.
I gotta check.
Yeah.
You want to touch this?
It's okay. Yeah, because
And Mephistopheles. Yeah, it's okay.
That's my gold switch, but I like it. See it?
okay.
It still looks really pimp, right?
Yeah.
I have to stay here.
What are you drinking?
I don't know. Let's find out. You want a drink?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
I think it's water, but it could be a vodka. Same thing to me.
Okay. And no, we were talking about Mephistopheles of Los Angeles, which is an interesting title, very interesting song. I mean, how did this city shaped you as an artist?
Well, I think that in one way, based on the Faust story by Goethe, it's in one sense the city is Faust. It is the whole, the last temptation of Christ. Like, you could have all this, but in exchange, you gotta get this. So for me, in a sense, whether it's, my own devil or the world or my fans or the people who aren't my fans or whatever it might be, essentially, I traded my soul to be a rock star, not a celebrity, because I existed before celebrity. I'm a rock star, not a celebrity. I might be famous, but I don't want to be famous for being anything other than an artist. But my goal was never to be famous. My goal was to destroy the idea of fame. Marilyn Manson, in its very essence, is the whole criticism of fame. So when people think...
But you wanted to become a rock star. But isn't that
absolutely.
a contradiction? I mean,
It
to
is
be a rock star...
I am a contradiction. That's the whole thing. You need a contradictionary, if you understand me.
Yeah.
But it's... I wanted to break the mold of the rock star. But, that's the essence of punk rock. And to me, when people ask me about punk rock, and I've had the opportunity to meet Iggy Pop, when people always give credit to Sex Pistols, and I interviewed Malcolm McLaren, it was one of my first interviews when I was 19 years old. And I think the Stooges represented punk rock in America more than the Sex Pistols did in Europe. But it's not criticism of either. I think the very first most punk thing was Jim Morrison and the Doors, and that's what really inspired me to become a writer in the first place. When I read No One Here Gets Out Alive, and just 2 days ago I recorded with Johnny Depp something he had recorded a long time ago, intending Alice Cooper to sing on it, or Iggy Pop, but ended up wanting me to sing on it. But we're friends. I mean, we have matching back tattoos, so it's
With Johnny, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I live right next door to him, so.
He probably would like to be you. I mean.
No, well, we'd like to be each other. That's the whole thing. It's like we're so vain. We should just sit in a bathtub and shave each other's faces and just make a movie of it. And that's the real part of it.
Recently,
so I did a cover of "Not to Touch the Earth" by The Doors, and it was really it's my favorite Doors song. It's the first Doors song I ever really listened to, and I remember checking out. In America, they had libraries you could check out with a library card cassette tapes, and I checked out a cassette tape and it had "Not to Touch the Earth" on it. That was the first Doors song that I really identified with, because I liked the lyrics of the minister's daughter's in love with the snake. And I actually, when I was singing, I forgot that I had "Died in the Lizard King" at the end, because I don't like lizards very much. But and just a little fact, just in case you know, snakes are deaf. Snakes can't hear. So that whole snake charming thing is not about sound. And it was something that came into play when I was doing the record, because there's a lot of things that would be taken at face value about the record. Third Day of a 7-Day Binge, you might think it's very literal about a relationship, or it's very biblical. When you think about the Genesis and the Bible. And I mentioned snakes a lot, and serpents, with the idea that if you think about the Bible, now if you were to take it literally like Christians do, snakes are deaf.
You already said that.
No, I'm saying, but the snake supposedly talked to someone and is deaf, so it doesn't really technically, scientifically add up. But to take the metaphors of the Bible, I believe in a lot of them. You know, I grew up going to Christian school, and I don't. People think that I'm anti-Christian just because I had a record called Antichrist Superstar. But my point was to prove that religion, politics, and rock stardom is not very different. It just depends on the sincerity and what you believe in. For me, it's about passion. It's about my belief. I have a moral code. You know, I don't try to hurt other people, but if you fuck with things that I love or you fuck with me, you don't want to end up on the other side of this cold switchblade. But it's, I mean, other than that, I'm not a amoral or immoral person. I'm not necessarily abide by the codes that other people do, but who does, you know? So people mistake about older people, like your parents or your grandparents. They think that they're conservative. Oh, I don't want to offend my grandparents. If I'm not mistaken, our grandparents probably invented anal sex and drugs and all the shit that we do. So they're not conservative. They're just plain old. They're tricking us. It's just a trick. I mean, they did it before we did.
And I mean, recently, you paint. Of course, you've done music for basically all your life, and you're acting a lot. You've done the Sons of Anarchy show. Mm-hmm. Is that something you would like to do full time, maybe in the future, like being an actor? Because you're very good at it, I have to admit.
Thank you. Well, it was very difficult for me, but I did learn a very valuable lesson that it's strange working with different directors. I worked with Quentin on Wrong Cops, and his direction was very specific. There was no, when you read a script, it's, for me, because I'm normally, when I do video, I'm very controlling with the lighting and about everything. And I'm very conscious of the camera, but acting, you have to really let go. You have to not be afraid to show a bad side, or you have to be willing to look shitty or good or whatever. It's not about
because you're not in control. Because
no, you have to just be willing to be. You just have to be the character. I can't be what I am when I make a music video where I'm performing to a camera. I'm in a different situation. Oh, yeah. And for Quentin, on Wrong Cops, he would say, okay, action, and then he'd say, that's shitty, man. That's so shitty. Good job. But he would say it's shitty, good job, because that was his way of saying it was good. So it was odd. And then David Lynch, who, when I did that small thing in Lost Highway, was like, now Marilyn, I want you to Patricia's very conscious of her breasts, so don't scare her. And I want you're going to be naked, you're going to be covered in blood, and you're going to fall down. I'm like, why? Doesn't matter. Action. So that was the David Lynch experience. And then Sons of Anarchy, it was different. So all my scenes are with Charlie Hunnam, so I'm sitting across from him. And there was one thing that I didn't really know how to do, because they didn't really give me any instructions other than, you're a white supremacist and you're in jail. And I said, do I need to change anything about my look? And they're like, no, it's perfect. I'm like, what are you trying to say? Because my haircut could just because I have black hair that's cut in this manner. But there was a scene where I had to say, I miss my dogs. And I asked Charlie, I said, what should I do? And his advice was very simple. He said, just act like you're crazy and you don't realize it, like in real life. And that was the funniest thing. That was it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is that the role you like the most, doing?
Well, so far, it was, I didn't realize how much it would be, but it was really fun doing it. It was involved role that I had to do. And it was while I was making the record, and it might have added to the record where I just started feeling kinship, because I made good friends with a couple of the guys on the show, and realized that it was 7 years of their life, and it became part of their whole life. And these guys would have my back for any reason, literally, like they would beat someone's ass if they fucked with me. And I never had that. I never grew up with a lot of guy friends, and I never really, as a kid in high school, and I'm an only child, and it was cool to have some other people in your life that were not just your girl. Because a lot of times I think that that's ruined relationships for me, because I tried to put the burden of that empty spot of not having a guy friend. But I did a lot of things this year that changed in my life, and a lot of them were being willing to let other people in my life and get close to people, because I suppose I was always afraid to get close to people. And you would think, because I have a band, that I would be very close to them, and sometimes I have been. Of course, I lived with Twiggy I've seen more of his dick than I need to have seen in my lifetime, but sometimes I think that a lot of people, especially my bandmates, they think they're bothering me, or they didn't understand that I made a change in my life. And I don't have any reason to expect them to, but what I did realize was that I needed to make sure everyone believed that I was not fucking around when I made this record. You're gonna call yourself the pimp, or you need to pull your bootstraps up and not take shit from anybody, and make everyone who's with you believe in you as a leader. And that was a part of me, I think, that was missing more than anything. Not songwriting or creativity, it was just me being someone that my closest mates and the people that were with me could count on. Know that I'm not going to fuck this up. Under no circumstances will I drop the ball on this.
And Tyler Bates is in your band, right?
Yes.
Right?
He and I made the record together, and then we had Gil, who plays drums in my band, also play on the record. And Tyler started out first by saying he would never go on tour. Then it went to, well, I can do some shows. And then I went to doing all the shows. And I went to, he and I, he's helping me create the visual element of the show, because I watch more movies than anyone I know. He watches the same movie more than anyone I know, because he has to score it. So we both have a different understanding of cinema, but we both want this to be, this is not going to be like any other Marilyn Manson tour. And not just...
What do you mean?
Well, I'm still, when we're done talking, I have to finish creating it, but it's going to be more of, I guess more approached, not in a, I think it's more punk rock than it's ever been. So we're playing a lot of songs that we would not normally play. Songs like This Is the New Shit, but it doesn't sound like it used to, and having two guitar players changes it, but it's really great to have Twiggy back on bass, and I'll stop the song when we're rehearsing. I'll say, look, stop playing like you're fucking bitches. Just play like, or I'll hate you. Don't make me hit you. But it's more of a fun, encouraging way. Essentially, the band is the best band I've ever had in my life, in my career. And it's so great to have a band where I can be completely not concerned about them doing what they do. Completely fantastic. It raises the bar for me. I have to be better than them, so it's a challenge. But I win still.
But do you mean in a musical way, or
musical way? But I mean, they don't miss a note. But that's not good enough for me. But they play it like their lives depend on it. That's how I sing it too. So it raises the bar to this step where I'm so excited to go on stage. I'm mad at you for keeping me from rehearsal.
It's too late. No, it's too early actually to go on stage.
I think it's too late.
Yeah. You're starting the tour in a few days, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
2 minutes, yes.
Yep. Okay, 2 minutes. So, one something I'm curious about. You recently stated that you invented the word crunch.
No, well,
Yeah.
that's a I said I coined the term grunge because I used the word, and I might have used the word grunge. I challenge you to find the article, but I did a review of Bleach, Nirvana, and I used the word grunge in it. I was simply saying I coined the term, meaning that I was the one who made it popular, and it was sarcastic. I didn't say I invented it. The word's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it was first used when describing Courtney Love's vagina.
And my very last question, I mean, while doing this record, what's the biggest challenge you had to overcome? I mean, in this specific period, in this moment of your career, what's the biggest challenge?
Trying to make my singing and my words as powerful as the music. It was a challenge for me and Tyler at the same time, that when I'm not singing, his guitar's telling the story. So I don't have to say as much. I'm a man of fewer words on this record, but the words are very, very powerful. And that's the thing I didn't understand about the blues, that you say something and then that story that you're telling becomes also the person who's listening to its story. And it's a combination. It's almost like fucking somebody, because it's the same story for both people, but they both see it differently. And that's really what the blues is about. It's not about using a slide guitar or sounding swampy, which that all has that. And that's just my love for being a redneck and being from New Orleans and Florida and Ohio. And I never really said, we at no point did Tyler and I sit down and say, oh, let's make something that sounds swampy and sounds like and I do take credit. I played the tambourine and the pill bottle. I was shaking the pill bottle. 2 pill bottles. One was like Pepsi, Tums for your stomach, and the other one was drugs for your head. And they kind of balance each other out. But we didn't sit down and plan that. Essentially, it's what was coming out of us, and I suppose it's really the influence of where I've come from. You know, when you think about, you're not from America, or you live here, right?
Yeah.
But, living in New Orleans, you go in the swamp and someone's doing some hoodoo ritual, Santeria things, and this is from personal experience. Someone, bathing themselves in chicken blood and things like that. It's not that different from people in a church revival tent carrying snakes and being bitten by them. It's 2 sides of the coin. They're both people having some strange way of trying to express a belief in something. But there's also the element of evil or good, which one is which. Because they both seem, if I had to pick being bathed in chicken blood or being bit by a snake, I'd go with the Santeria. But, as I just don't want to get bit by a snake. But, I have been bitten by a snake because I had a snake. Yeah, I had a snake once, and it crawled around my arm, and I had to stab it. I had to cut its head off. But it's it's weird. Reptiles are strange creatures. And, when you look at things in nature, you look at it differently. You look at a peacock, you look at a lion, you look at an elephant. Elephants don't have knees; they have knuckles, so they can't really kneel. Snakes can't kneel; they don't have legs. Snakes are deaf. And a peacock. Do you think a peacock wakes up and thinks, "How should I flare my feathers?" No, they don't. So you just be certain of who you are and do it well, and do it without any doubt, and be confident when you do it. And that's the best thing you can be in life, to be confident of who you are, whatever you decide to be.
I agree with that. Thank you very much.
Boom.
Can you say to the camera, what do you think about this interview?
Go fuck yourself.